G'day and welcome to Mount Fuji, the famous mountain named after a famous camera. May or may not be any truth in that previous statement there. Today, I'm going to share with you how we navigate and communicate on this long-term journey around the world. I'll be sharing the navigation apps we use, along with a very brief overview of each app. Communication is a topic we regularly get asked questions about, so I'm going to talk to you about that, along with a selection of other apps and useful info that we have learned over the years that might be of interest to others planning an international overland trip or even just some local trips. Navigation. Firstly, I want to highlight that all of the apps we use are completely free. We have been to some very remote and isolated areas in the world, and we can assure you there's no need to spend big money on a fancy navigation system. I also want to point out that all of these apps are available to use offline with no internet connection. This is essential when planning a global overland trip. Although internet is widely available these days and covering a lot of areas throughout the world, you do not want to be caught out without internet connection or relying on internet connection when sometimes you might be days or even weeks without it. The first app is Maps.me. Now Maps.me is probably our most used navigation application, both on the road, off-road, and also hiking. Maps.me is very simple to use, accepts GPS coordinates, lets you save and name waypoints, has very detailed hiking and off-road routes along with points of interest and even freshwater sources. We have found this app incredible over the years. After 8 hours hiking all day, and then you find a campsite with a natural spring like this. As we do use Maps.me as our primary tool for navigation, I thought I'll spend a few minutes expanding on only this app. Input the destination. Like I mentioned, we try to use GPS coordinates when available. If you only have a name or address, then input this into the search. Chances are it's not going to find an exact match, so make sure you scroll down through the results. If you see something that may be close in spelling or partial match, then click on it. Be sure to then zoom out on the map to be certain it's in the area you intend to travel. Bookmark points of interest or upcoming destinations. Just like I would have done on a paper map many years ago, I use Maps.me the same way by pinning waypoints and route options. Be sure to edit and name your bookmarks for future reference and save them when you have an internet connection. This way, if the app crashes, you have the locations backed up for future upload. Trust your GPS. We have found Maps.me to be accurate within 2 meters. Trust it for your location. Don't always trust the route it's going to take you. Calibrate your compass on your phone as well. It will be very accurate as to where you are. I can think of several occasions off the top of my head where Maps.me has kept us on the trail even though there were no visible indications of a trail. I can also think of many times we've strayed from the track whilst getting a bit excited and gotten ourselves in a sticky or off-route situation. Use Maps.me to search for potential campsites or points of interest. Some information is only visible after zooming right in on an area. Go on a Maps.me adventure. This is our nickname for the times Maps.me has taken us on an unexpected journey that has turned out to be an awesome experience. One instance I can think of was in Armenia, trying to reach the beautiful area of Lastivar. Maps.me took us on a road that started sealed, then quickly turned into a trail, and eventually a river crossing we were not prepared to attempt. We never reached Lastivar on that trail, but in getting lost we discovered a beautiful off-road trail and stunning campsite that we still talk about to this day. Don't pay attention to Maps.me estimates. Sometimes I reckon Maps.me thinks we're doing 100 kilometers an hour on every road we take. We drive a Defender, so we are never even close to this. It should never be about the time anyway. Stop often and travel slowly. Sometimes I'll drive 30 kilometers for the day and we'll start looking for a campsite right then and there. Maps.me has very simple point-to-point route calculations and also shows a rough elevation gain-loss in walking mode. Very handy to estimate times and plan long-distance hikes or off-road trails. Next app is OSMAND. Another free app, although I will mention you only get up to 6 countries free, I think, before they do ask for a subscription. This app is very detailed and I've found it nice to use in cities and more built-up areas. It shows motorway exits more clearly than Maps.me and also the upcoming direction. The last free app is Mappy.cz. This app is a recent find and a great app for navigation and also hiking. The downside to having so much detail in the maps, they do take up a lot of storage room. When you have a fast, reliable internet connection, be sure to download the upcoming country maps. I've made the mistake before of crossing a border, then realizing I forgot to download the offline maps for that country. Have a backup device with at least one of your preferred navigation apps installed. Steph has Maps Me on her phone with the current country downloaded. Use GPS coordinates where possible. They are much easier to input than an address in a foreign language. Avoid toll roads. Most of the apps I've talked about will enable you to avoid toll roads or motorways in the settings. It's much cheaper and guaranteed to be a more scenic and experience rewarding journey. Check the settings on each app to enable Latin language translation. This will automatically translate the country's map to Latin letters, other than the country's local language if that country uses a different form of alphabet. Update your maps when you have a decent internet connection. Also, if the app allows you or offers you to, download the maps to an SD card on your phone or your tablet or your device to enable your device to be running faster. Before your trip begins, practice with various offline apps, whatever your choice may be. Play with the settings, etc., and see which one works best for you. Briefly on traditional paper maps. We actually recently bought our very first paper map in near on 8 years of overlanding. This map of Japan was for Steph's creative purposes and not for navigation. Communication. Like it or not, we live in a digital age. Internet access and communication are a big part of travel that cannot be avoided. In fact, some countries now offer only online visa application services. Were we missing a document?
Oh yeah, we were missing the whole form.
We have found that by far the cheapest and best way to access the internet and communicate on this journey is to purchase a local SIM card in each new country. We then use online apps to make calls to family and friends, such as Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, or Viber. On occasion, you will need to call a local number or a number internationally. For this, I have a Skype account with a minimum of $10 credit at all times. A tip when purchasing a SIM card in a foreign country: have the seller set it up for you. Do not leave the shop until they've proved it's working. Emergency communication. We often get asked if we carry a satellite phone. We carry a Garmin InReach Mini. This is a two-way messaging emergency satellite beacon. We can send preset messages to designated people through our online Garmin account from anywhere in the world, so long as we can pick up a satellite. Since we have the Garmin, I've never felt the need for a high-level radio system, such as a ham. These often require a license and are also illegal in some of the countries we've traveled. We do have a very basic CB radio. We've only used this several times when in convoy with someone else who's got a CB, and it has come in handy, doesn't take up much space.
That's what the bull bar's for, mate. Give him a nudge.
That's a very stubborn cow.
Please be aware and know the emergency number for the particular country you're in. I will mention too that a lot of times when you are in a remote location with no coverage, you can still dial an emergency number and get connection. So now I want to share with you guys some other apps that we have found very useful over the years and use regularly. iOverlander. This app is a community created app where users can upload information that is then available through the app internationally. This information can be anything from border crossing updates, gas refill locations, points of interest, accommodation, mechanics, etc. There is also the option to add and upload wild campsites. Now, we highly encourage people not to do this if possible. Try to find your own wild campsites. It's part of the fun and part of the challenge of overlanding. A decent weather forecast app. We use AccuWeather and Windy. I always have a rough idea of a 7-day forecast of the area we are in and the area we intend to move to. This can help a lot in planning our movements and avoiding disappointment when the weather turns bad. Currency conversion app. We use Xe. Google Translate, also available to download most languages offline. The instant image translation you may have seen us use is awesome for restaurant menus, supermarkets, and also to read warning or information signs. A photo resizing app. Super handy for online visa applications where you have to upload a photo of your passport that requires a specific resolution size. A scan app. We use Simple Scanner. This will transform any photo to make it look like it's been put through a scanner or fax machine. a sign app. The sign app is great. It keeps an original version of your signature on file, letting you then add your signature to a document requiring signing. The 3 apps I've just mentioned will save you having to find a place to print, send, or scan documents. Social media. Social media can be used as a great tool for an international overland journey. There are Facebook groups for overland travelers covering almost every continent. Overlanding Asia has been a great source of information for us over the last few years. Keeping an eye on these pages may also give you the opportunity to offer advice or assistance to fellow overlanders. We were the first to be informed that the ferry service from Vladivostok to Korea and Japan was being suspended. We quickly shared this information and saved our good friends Mel and Leah from becoming stranded in Russia. I know there's literally thousands of helpful apps out there these days, but I just wanted to share with you the ones that we use the most. In finishing up, I just want to say that as overlanders in this day and age, we have it very easy with what's available to us through the internet and technology. I have such an enormous amount of respect and admiration for overlanders who are doing the exact same thing we are back in the 60s, 70s, or even earlier. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that maybe at least a couple of the things I've talked about can be of some use. Cheers and catch you later. Au revoir.